Hey guys, it's Doc Apocalypse here. We're back for another day of Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Spoilers, this is day 8, alright? And I thought yesterday was hard because we had 40 some odd cards. We have more than double that today. So this is going to be quick. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, but bear in mind, this is a lot of cards. Now granted, we do have some basic land, not basic lands, but some common lands that are basically tap lands to gain 1 life. They're in here. I'll touch on them real quick just to show you the colors and their artwork. We'll move right on. So without any further ado, don't forget to like and subscribe. Do that right now. I'll give you a second. Alright, let's hop right into it. The first one is Ambitious Assault. Alright, 2 and a red. This is an instant. Creatures you control get +2, +0 until end of turn. If you control a modified creature, draw a card. So this is just a simple, basic, run-of-the-mill red card. It's a little expensive to get +2/+2, but the being able to draw a card, if you control a modified creature, that's pretty good. So I wish it was for each modified creature. Then this would be amazing. Just for a single one, not too bad. Move on to the next card. Next card is Automated Artificer. This is a 2 colorless artifact creature artificer. It's a 1/3. You can tap it to add a colorless. Spend this mana only to activate an ability or cast an artifact spell. A little narrow, but in this deck or in this set, this ain't bad. I mean, it's a good draft card just to be able to have that extra mana. 2 mana drop for 1 mana. Tap isn't the greatest, but it's not the worst. It's not a Soul Ring, but it's not bad. Move on to the next one. Next one is Bearer of Memory. This is 2 and a green. Enchantment creature, human monk. With a 5 and a green, put a 1/1 counter on target enchantment creature. It gains trample until end of turn. Other than that, it's just a 3/2 for 3. That cost makes this card terrible. That's just plain and simple. I mean, it's a cool. I really like the art. I really like how she's like carving out these little spirit creature things. But other than that, let's move on to the next one. This is one of the lands I was talking about, the common lands. Basically, it's just, it enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain a life. You can tap it for whatever colors. This one happens to be the Rakdos one. Move on. This is the Sultai? No. Selesnya. Again, same exact thing. Comes in tapped, gain a life. Alright, Brute Suit. Whew, that one's going to trip me up for a while. This is a 3 colorless artifact vehicle. It's a 4/3 with vigilance, and it crews for 1. That's all it does. It's just a 4/3, crew it for 1. So any token can crew this, and it's got vigilance, so it's always up. That's pretty cool. Other than that, let's move on. Careful Cultivation, sorry. This is a 2 and a green, enchantment aura, enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+3 and has reach, and taps for 2 green mana. Or you can channel this for 1 and a green. You can discard it and create a 1/1 green human monk creature token that taps for a single green mana. So I really like this because you can turn your little dork into a big dork, or at least a tough dork, and it taps for mana. So the tapping for mana part is the part that really is the only thing that matters to me. I would enchant a creature that I know is, especially like a defender or something, just to make that defender even bigger, and it taps for mana. So that's awesome. Let's move on to the next one. Chainfail Centipede. All right, this is 2 and a black. It's an artifact creature, equipment, insect. It's a 2/2. Whenever Chainfail Centipede or equipped creature attacks, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. It has Reconfigure of 2. Standard reconfigure cost, it's not bad. It can be basically reconfigured for free, depending on what kind of other creatures you have out, because there are creatures that make reconfigure cost 2 less. But other than that, yeah. I mean, it just gives it a +2/+0 until end of turn whenever it attacks. So it's not the greatest. It's not the worst. Let's move on. Clawing Torment. I really like the art of this. It's very the one with the girl that climbs out of the TV. It's not The Shining. Maybe it is. It's the one about the video. Anyway, it's a single black pip enchantment aura. Alright, enchant artifact or creature. As long as an enchantment Enchanted Permanent is a creature. It gets -1/-1, and can't block. Enchanted Permanent has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. This is really cool to throw onto someone's Indestructible. Because this is something that I throw onto a Toski. Oh, yes. This is perfect, actually. A single black pip, enchant the Toski to make it a 0/0. And at the beginning of your upkeep, they lose 1 life. But if they've already buffed Toski a little bit, because if it goes to 0/0, it just dies. Because it doesn't have any toughness. So even though it's indestructible, it just dies. But if you put it on anything else, they just lose 1 life, especially if it's indestructible. Now that they're going to struggle to remove it. They're going to have to sacrifice it to get rid of it. So this enchantment's actually really cool, especially at a common level. I think I'm going to use the crap out of this just because it's fun. I mean, this is just punish you for wanting your creatures to stay alive. Move on to the next one. Commune with Spirits. This is single green sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an enchantment or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is awesome. This is get an enchantment or a land for a single green. You can't get much better cost than that in any color, let alone in green. So being able to mana ramp for a single green, getting that 1 extra land in your hand, being able to always play your lands on curve with this is going to be amazing. And then if you don't need it for the land side of it, you can get the enchantment and play it out, which is amazing as well. So I really like this card a lot, actually. This is really good, especially for the common ranking that it has. And you'll see, there's the reason why we have 84 cards today is because there is a ton of commons. We went from like 60 total to 107 total commons that have been released. Next one, Crackling Emergence. This is 1 and a red for an enchantment aura. Enchant land you control. Enchant land is a 3/3 red spirit creature with haste. It is still a land. If enchanted land would be destroyed, instead sacrifice Crackling Emergence, and that land gains indestructible until end of turn. That is really cool. So basically the land doesn't die. It just goes back to being a land. I really like this enchantment because my biggest beef with turning a land into a creature is that when it dies, that land goes to the graveyard. It doesn't become a land again, which is a cost that has always been associated with turning lands into creatures. Well, creature land type things. If they die, you lose that land too, and that's always been my biggest fear, is that I start to ramp these lands out and start to get a couple of these lands out, and then I get wiped. And now I've just lost 4 lands, and that is really bad. 4 mana down is a hard thing to come back from. So this Crackling Emergence is actually really cool, and I expect it to be used a lot more than I initially when I first read this card. Next is Debt to the Commie. This is 2 and a black for an instant. Choose 1. Target opponent exiles a creature they control, or target opponent exiles an enchantment they control. This leaves what they exile up to them. Obviously, you choose whether it's a creature or an enchantment, but you don't get to choose which creature or enchantment. You know what I mean? So, if they only have 1 creature, they only have 1 enchantment, and you want that gone, this is nice. If they have multiple, chances are they're not going to get rid of the one that you want. So this is kind of a not as great card as it could be. But then again, it is a common. So, not every single card in a set can be a bomb, because that would just be thrones. Next card. Here's our blue-black. I don't remember what that is, so we'll just keep on moving. Disruption Protocol. This is a blue instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, tap an untapped artifact you control or pay 1. Counter target spell. So this is a 3 mana counter spell, or 2 and tap down an artifact. So if you're playing any kind of food token, again, I've done this a million times. Food tokens, blood tokens, treasure tokens. Whenever they say artifacts, those are the 3 that I'm thinking of when they say tap down an artifact, or sacrifice an artifact, because those are the ones that are meant to be sacrificed anyway. I never am going to sacrifice a soul ring or anything like that, or tap down stuff like that when they could be useful in other ways. I'd rather just pay the extra 1. But this is still a good costed counter spell. Especially at basic. Man, Pauper is getting some love. Next card, Dragonfly Suit. Alright, this is 2 and a white, artifact vehicle, flying, crew 1. It's a 3/2. That's it. There's no frills on this. It's just a flying 3/2 that you have to crew with a single 1/1 token. It's okay. That's it. Next card. Dramatist Puppet. It's a 4 colorless artifact creature construct. It's a 2/4. When Dramatist's Puppet enters the battlefield, for each kind of counter on target permanent, put another counter of that kind on it or remove one from it. Oh man, this is so hard. This is a remove sludge or slime counters from things that Tox will put a slime counter on, or this is a bump up 1/1 counters is really what I'm seeing with this. The only one that I could see this being actually kind of cool for is with the white Myojin that has an indestructible counter on it. All right, that indestructible counter can be increased to 2, and then you technically can remove one indestructible counter, get the Myojin's proc that says do X. I don't remember what the white one does, but or any color actually, since this is colorless. I just for some reason I thought it was white. And then it's still indestructible. So now you're able to repeat that process without losing that Myojin. Because as soon as that Myojin loses indestructible, someone's going to target it. Someone's going to blow that thing out of the water. So this actually, I could see some play in a Myojin commander deck. Next one. Ooh, this card. This is a single mana legendary artifact equipment. All right, this is Eater of Virtue. Ooh, is this a good card? Whenever equipped creature dies, exile it. Ooh, that kind of hurts. But equipped creature gets +2/+0. As long as a card exiled with Eater of Virtue has flying, equipped creature has flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Protection from, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. And it's only cost 1 to equip. 1 to equip. The 2/0 I don't care about. It's all of these keyword features that when those cards get exiled, there's not a whole lot you can't exile exiled cards, you know what I mean? So you're going to have to remove this in order to keep it from making your stuff Voltron-y as hell. Like, this is an immediate, a must-have. I mean, a must have in a Voltron deck. Because you put this thing on anything but your commander in a commander Voltron deck, and you start boosting those creatures, right? And when it dies, it takes all of those keyword abilities off of it, exiles that creature, which you don't really care about because it's Voltron. You have a couple of creatures, if at least a couple, that you really want to Voltron onto. And then you just slap this on it for 1, and now it's got all of those keyword abilities all over again, plus all the artifact or all the equipments that were on it. Now you can just slap back on it, and it just becomes unbelievably powerful. So yes. Mwah. Beautiful card, Wizards. Way overpowered, but such a beautiful card. Let's move on to the next one. All right. Ecologist Terrarium. This is a 2 colorless artifact. When Ecologist Terrarium enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. 2 and a tap, sacrifice Ecologist Terrarium, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. This second part is kind of lame, but you have nothing to do other than if you blink this. This is an artifact that you want to blink over and over and over again to be able to search your library for a basic land card, put it into your hand. That's the, or more importantly, sometimes the shuffle. Because if you don't like, if you scry 5, let's say, or scry 2, scry 3, and nothing good's on top, and then you can just shuffle it. You can just blink this. Draw a land card out, shuffle it, and then you maybe got better chances with what's in there now. I don't know. There's this card has shenanigans. It's got its place, and to be able to just blink this and continually draw basic land cards every time it enters the battlefield is really good. Or every time you play all those different green cards and red and black cards and white cards and blue cards, wow, it's crazy. They can all fetch artifacts and enchantments and all sorts of stuff out of the graveyard. This is an artifact. You can just start plucking it back out of the graveyard and playing it again. And then paying 2, tapping it, put a 1/1 counter on something. It's that 2 and a tap for a 1/1 doesn't jive well with me, but it's okay. Let's move on to the next one. All right, this is Experimental Synthesizer. All right, this is a single red artifact. When Experimental Synthesizer enters or leaves the battlefield, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. 2 and a red, sacrifice Experimental Synthesizer, create a 2/2 white samurai creature token with vigilance. Activate it only as a sorcery. Boy, okay, so exile the top card of your library. You're playing it for a single red, so you're not going to play it turn 1, obviously, because then it's just exile the top of your card of your library, and that sucks. But you play this mid-game, and hopefully you get something good. Maybe you get a land, you play out the land. This is definitely a card that you don't want to play your land and then play it, because if it's a land and you've exiled it, now you just exiled a land, and that hurts. That hurts anytime you do it, even if you got a ton of lands, because if you exile a land, that's just one less land you're going to draw, which is important sometimes, so you want to be able to just play it out, so that way the mana's there at least, in case you get something big, some big X spell that you just want to be able to dump all your mana into. So, I like it. This is a very early artifact that you just turn 5, turn 6 play. Play it for 1, use 4 mana to cast whatever that spell is on top, or play out the land on it, and then play the spells out of your hand. You pay 2 and sacrifice it, exile the top card again, or pay 3. Create a 2/2 samurai creature token with vigilance as well, so that's not bad. For a common card, that's an okay card. It's not the best, not the worst. Next one is Explosive Entry. All right, this is 1 and a red. It's a sorcery. Destroy up to 1 target artifact. Put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature. This is red's artifact destruction, and it's not terrible. It's not overly costed. It's not super cheap, but it's not overly costed. And you can get rid of a lot of these powerful artifacts like that legendary sword that we just saw. So not bad. The 1/1's just because they didn't want a big white space there, and the flavor text wasn't enough. Alright, Fade into Antiquity. This is 2 and a green for a sorcery, exile target artifact or enchantment. Just more expensive because it exiles instead of destroys. But other than that, it's a solid card. Green gets exile target artifact enchantment for 3 all the time, so there's nothing special to this. Oh no, farewell. Alright. Probably should have put this at the end of the video to get you guys to stay. This is 4 and a white for a sorcery. That says choose 1 or more. That doesn't mean pay more. It just means choose all of them, always. Exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, and exile all graveyards. I mean, if you're an artifacts deck, you do the bottom 3. If you're a creatures deck, you do the top and the bottom 2. If you're an enchantments deck, you do the top 2 and the bottom. If you're a graveyard play, you do all of them, except for the graveyard. And you just... Yo, this is mother of all board wipes right here. This is so good. Destroy all permanents, basically, and exile all graveyards is just nasty. The only thing this doesn't have is exile all lands, which... Why not? At this point, Wizards, why not? Just exile lands, too. Like, let's just start fresh. Let's World Fire again. Why not? Favor of... I gotta practice this word, because Jukai. We'll go with Jukai, alright? There's a lot of Jukais in this, so let's get to it. 3 and a green, enchantment aura. Enchant artifact or creature, as long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +3/+3 and has the reach. Channel it for 1 and a green. You discard it, target creature gets +3/+3 and gains reach until end of turn. So, You can pay half the cost and get it till end of turn, or you can pay the full cost and get it as long as the creature lives. So if you don't expect the creature to live through the turn, you can channel it and give it reach and block that big flyer or whatever, and maybe even kill it or trade with it. Or, you can enchant the creature itself and it gets reach indefinitely. If it's a big one, Voltron the heck out of it. Let's move on. Futurist Sentinel. This is 3 and a blue. I really like this art. This is really cool. I like the little pyramid. It's like, it looks like it's floating on his head. Alright, Artifact Vehicle. It's a 6/6 for 4 mana, and it's a crew 3. This is super good. 4 mana for a 6/6 with a crew 3, so those 1/1 pilots that I've been just going on and on about. 1/1 that powers vehicles as if it had 2 greater power, so it means that it would be a 3/3 or a 3/1 technically trying to crew this. Yeah, this is a big one. It's not the greatest card in the world. It's a little expensive, especially in blue, but it's a cool limited card. Let's move on to the next one. Gift of Wrath. All right, 3 in a red. Enchantment aura. Enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +2/+2 and has menace. When Gift of Wrath leaves the battlefield, create a 2/2 red spirit creature token with menace. So this is really cool because it replaces itself almost. This is a 4 mana. You give something for menace for a while, and then when it dies, you get another thing with menace, but it's only a 2/2. It is still a 2/2 though. I mean, and menace is nothing to shake a stick at. It'll get through a lot of times because people don't want to dedicate 2 creatures to block it. Especially if you've got a relatively even field amount of creatures. If they've got the same amount that you do, then that 2/2 is probably going to be the one that gets through. So that's something to think about. Next card. Golden Tail Disciple. This is 2 and a white for an enchantment creature, Fox Monk. It's a 2/3 with lifelink. Nothing, no frills. It's just a 3 for a 2/3 with lifelink. Nothing crazy. This is a typical white card. Let's move on to the next one. Grafted Growth. This is 2 and a green. Enchant aura. Enchant a land. Or enchantment aura, sorry. You can enchant a land. When Grafted Growth enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Enchanted land has tap to add 2 mana of any color. This is really good. So this just makes your lands better because it just turned, for 3 mana, it just turned your regular basic land into a dual land of any color. Well, I mean, it's a 5-color land, but it taps for 2 of 1 color. You know what I mean? And you don't have to declare it. That's the cool thing. It doesn't say, like, pick a color, let's say blue, or in this case probably green, and then that land adds 2 green of any 1 color. No, it says any 1 color. 2 mana of any 1 color. So you want red this turn, you get red. Next turn, you want blue, you get blue. Why not? If you're using it as colors, call it white. Why not? So, this is a cool card. I like it. Let's move on to the next one. Grease Fang Akiba Boss. This is a rat boss. Alright, this is 1 and a white-black. I've actually went over this one, but I'm going to go over it again. Legendary creature rat pilot. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of your next end step. Oh man, I cannot tell you how much I love this card because being able to bring a vehicle out, swing with it, and then if it dies, it goes back to the graveyard, bring it back next turn, or it goes back to your hand, you can play it out next turn and pull another vehicle out of your graveyard next turn. Like, bruh, this is vehicles tribal right here. This is your commander through and through. Let's move on. Harmonious Emergence. 3 and a green. Alright, this is an enchantment aura as well. You enchant a land you control. Enchanted land is a 4/5 green spirit creature with vigilance and haste. It is still a land. That vigilance and haste, really dope. If enchanted land would be destroyed, instead sacrifice Harmonious Emergence, and this land gains indestructible until end of turn. Again, this is very similar to the red one. It's just a little bit bigger, and it's got vigilance and haste instead of menace, I believe. So that's really good too. The vigilance and haste, though, oh my gosh, for green, that's awesome. That's awesome. Haste is not something that green gets a lot, so this is cool. This is cool. I like it a lot. Let's move on to the next one. Imperial Oath. This is 5 and a white, so 6 CMC sorcery. That is very expensive. Create 3 2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance, and then scry 3. Whew. So they tacked that scry 3 on there as a trap to try to make this worth it. 6 mana for 3 2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance. Unless, I mean, this is a samurai tribal card for sure, that care about the amount of samurais that you have on the battlefield. At that point, this is worth it. But that's about the only time that this is worth it. I think 6 mana for 3 tokens is just not the right cost. Even with vigilance, even with the scry 3, because scry 3 is not really worth that much. It is a tack on to make you think the card's more valuable, and they do that stuff on so many cards. Ooh, do this in scry 2, do this in scry 5, you know, like half the time you're going to end up shuffling deck before you even get to that second or third card that you scried anyway. So let's move on to the next one. Imperial Recovery Unit. All right, this is 2 and a white for an artifact vehicle. It's a 3/4. When Imperial Recovery Unit attacks, return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. This is a crew 2. So you can block with this. It's 4 powers, pretty good to be able to block with. And you get to return your small creatures and vehicles to your hand. I mean, and it's the cheap ones too, which is really cool. So, like, if you're getting... this comes out at 3, and then they kill off the one thing that was going to crew this. That kind of sucks. So you get the next thing out, you crew it, and then you get that little bad boy back. And just keep on rinsing and repeating, you know. That's not terrible. And an uncommon rarity, that's not bad. Next one is Intercessor's Arrest. That's a weird word. 2 and a white. This is enchantment aura. Enchant permanent. Enchanted permanent can't attack, block, or crew vehicles. Its activated abilities can't be activated unless they are mana abilities. So basically, this is a hoser card for 3 mana for white. This isn't terrible. I don't know. Lockdown enchantment auras have always been useful for white, and they will use them. This will see limited play. This might see a little bit of standard play, but it's the or crew vehicles part is really the part that I think is going to see more standard play, just because the other vehicles technically don't say or crew vehicles, so you might be able to get around that with the way they're worded. So this might be replacing some of those 3 mana enchantments that lock down creatures for white at least. Next one, Iron Apprentice. This is a single mana artifact creature construct. All right, Iron Apprentice enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. When Iron Apprentice dies, if it had counters on it, put those counters on target creature you control. So this is a pump it to the moon kind of construct, and then when it finally gets wiped, you just move those counters over, which is not terrible either. So, single mana to have an extra artifact on the battlefield, that's not terrible. Especially in artifact decks, a single mana artifact is usually pretty good, especially something that you can swing with, even if it is a 1/1. So, I like it. Not the best, not the worst. Next thing, Iron Hoof Boar. All right, 5 and a red artifact creature Boar. This has trample and haste with channel for 2. This is a 5/4, by the way. I don't know if I went over that, but you can channel it for 2. Discard it. Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. 6 mana for a 5/4 with trample and haste is not the worst, just because it has haste and trample. If it just had trample or just had haste, I don't know. It probably wouldn't be as good. But the channel is not that great. I don't like anything that costs a decent amount, that doesn't give it much toughness, and only lasts till end of turn. It's the gains trample until end of turn that is the only part that actually means anything here. But gosh, it's just so darn expensive. I can't give this a good grade without bringing that down to even a 4 and a red would be manageable. But 6 CMC, that's a lot. Move on to the next one. Told you there'd be a lot of Juke. This is a Juke Preserver, 3 and a green. Enchantment creature human druid. It's a 3/3. When Juke Preserver enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. You can channel this for 3. You discard it, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. It's 4 mana for a probably 4/4. But it doesn't have trample, doesn't have haste, doesn't have vigilance, doesn't have death touch, doesn't have anything. And if you channel it for 3, you just put 2 1/1 counters on a creature or 2. Not that great. Let's move on. Another Juke Trainee. This is 1 and a green for a creature human samurai. It's a 2/2. When Juke Trainee blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So basically this is a 3/3 whenever it's actually doing its job. The only time it's really a 2/2 is when someone targets it with some kind of give minus X. The only time it's really actually a 2/2. But not a terrible card. Not the greatest. It's a good price. It's a samurai. It means something. So in a samurai's deck, this isn't terrible. But let's move on. There's another trainee. That's just its alternate art, I guess you would say. It's not extended art. Move on to Jungle Hollow. This is the black greenland. Again, comes in tapped, gain a life. Kaito's Pursuit. This is 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards. Ninjas and rogues you control gain menace until end of turn. Yeah. This isn't nothing to shake a stick at. Like, being able to make them discard 2 cards can actually mean something, especially against a deck that doesn't have card draw built into it. Or you're making them discard their card draw because they're kind of low on cards, and now they're like, shit, I was going to play that next turn to get some more cards in my hand. This can be a hoser, but I think the ninjas and rogues gain menace until end of turn. I think that's worth it for 3 already. Rogues are coming back with a vengeance because ninjas basically are rogues, so it's not bad. Kami of Restless Shadows. This is 4 and a black, creature spirit. It's a 3/3. When Kami of Restless Shadows enters the battlefield, choose 1. Return up to 1 target ninja or rogue creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Basically, this ain't terrible. I mean, you could blink this and really start bringing ninjas and rogues back to your hand, which is not terrible. You keep blinking this, it becomes a better and better value. You're able to blink this 3 times. This is 2 mana per spell or per ninja rogue that you got back to your hand. That's not terrible. Well, a little bit less than 2. And you got a 3/3 out of it. So that's not terrible. But being able to put any creature card on top of your library is not terrible either. And then you can blink that and it just becomes really good too. So I could see this being something that I would put in like a reanimator deck maybe. No, not a reanimator. Some kind of self-mill deck maybe. Let's keep moving. Kami of Terrible Secrets. Alright, this is 3 and a black for a creature spirit. It's a 3/4. It's a little bit bigger. When Kami of Terrible Secrets enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact and an enchantment, you draw a card and you gain 1 life. So, drawing a card and gaining a life for 4 and getting a 3/4 out of it is not the worst. The gaining life doesn't really mean anything in black. Gaining a life is not a big deal. Doesn't normally do much for you, but drawing a card is always good. So, I could see this being a blinkable target too. Commie Flair. This is 1 in a red for an instant. Commie Flair deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Commie Flair also deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller if you control a modified creature. A single modified creature. You can take out a troll and deal 2 damage to their face by just having a 1/1 on anything. This is a good card. I like it a lot. I like being able to remove, even if it's just removing one of their smaller things to get it out of the way, just to get some of the draft or some of the chumpers out of the way, and then dealing 2 to the face. for 2 mana is not terrible. I've paid 2 for less. You know? So this is actually a pretty good card for the burn decks to be able to keep the tempo slowed down a little bit and really hitting them on the face trying to get them aggravated. Let's move on to Kindled Fury. This is a single red for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. This ain't great. Doesn't give haste. If it gave first strike and haste, that'd be great. But just a +1 and first strike, nah, not for me. Let's move on. Kitsune Ace. This is 1 and a white for a creature fox pilot. It's a 2/2. When a vehicle you control attacks, choose 1. This vehicle gains first strike until end of turn, or untap Kitsune Ace. Generally speaking, I'm almost always going to use that vehicle gains first strike until end of turn, because first strike is really powerful. A lot of times people will chump with will want to trade for vehicles to get rid of them. This one will just keep them on the battlefield. I mean, you can always untap Kitsune Ace, but too bad you can't just tap him and keep giving vehicles first strike. You know? But anyway, let's move on to the next card. Lucky Offering. This is a single white again for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact with mana value 3 or less. You gain 3 life. I've seen this before. I don't know if we've seen it at this price. A single white to destroy a mana value 3 or less artifact and gain 3 life. Like, that's not a bad price. The gain 3 life for a single white's not bad. But I think we paid more for 3 life, and that's all it did. Let's move on. March of Swirling Mist. I think we went over this, but again, this is a really cool art, so we'll go over it. X and a blue for an instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may exile any number of blue cards from your hand. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Up to X target creatures phase out. Yep, we covered this yesterday. This is really cool because you can pay 1 land out of your hand to protect 2 of your creatures. That is a really good cost because you're not losing any of your good spells. You're just losing a land that you probably don't need, and you just protected them. That's really good. Or you can pay out that Fading Hope. Instead of bouncing 1 creature back to your hand, you can save 2, phase out, and you don't have to replay them. That's really good cost too. I mean, Fading Hope still sees play. Let's move on. Master Rebuke. 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. We've seen these kind of fight spells before. They always do great. So let's just say this is a good card and move on. Mirror Shell Crab. This is 5 and a blue for an artifact creature crab. It has Ward 3 and is a 5/7. Other than that, there's nothing crazy to it. Oh wait, there's Channel. 2 and a blue. Discard it. Counter target spell or ability unless its controller pays 3. 3 mana. Counter spell. And it's only a single blue pip. Unless they pay 3. That's not terrible. I think I would put this in as a late game play, actually, because this isn't terrible for blue to have for late game to be able to play out. And having Ward 3 on a 5/7 is really good. But being able to have a late game counterspell, or an early game counterspell, or a late game 5/7 with Ward 3, both sound good to me. Like, they're not the best, neither one's good. But together, this is just like an MDFC. This is a great MDFC. So let's just move on. Alright. Mnemonic Sphere. This is 1 and a blue for an artifact. You can pay 1 and a blue, sacrifice it, and draw 2 cards, or you can channel it for a single card and draw for a single blue and draw a card. I'm not totally sure why you would ever do anything other than channel this. I mean, unless your artifact count matters. Because unless your artifact count matters, this is literally 4 mana to draw 2 cards, or 1 mana to draw 1 card. And no 2 cards or no extra card is worth 3 mana. Period. So, generally speaking, this is a channel card unless you're playing Artifact Matters. Plain and simple. Let's move on to the next one. Moonfolk Puzzle Maker. 2 and a blue, artifact creature, Moonfolk Wizard. It's a 1/4 with flying. When Moonfolk Puzzle Maker becomes tapped, scry 1. So you pay this out on turn 3. You swing in and you scry 1. You swing in, you scry 1. You swing in, you scry 1. Swing in, scry 1. Until it dies, and then that's it. It's a Moonfolk. Moonfolk Tribal will like this, but that's about it. I'm not a huge fan of it. Let's move on. Maybe Party. Party might like this too. Alright, Moth Rider Patrol. This is a single white pip for a creature fox warrior that is a 1/1. It has flying and 4 CMC and tap. You can tap target creature. That is too expensive. You have to tap down one of your own to tap one creature down? No thanks. This is not good. This is draft chaff. Let's move on. Alright. Makotai Soul Ripper. It's a 1 and a black for a 4/3 artifact vehicle. When Soul Ripper attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on Soul Ripper. It gains menace until end of turn, and it crews for 2. I think this one came out yesterday as well. But again, this art is so good that I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, this is a food tokens, treasure tokens, and blood tokens. It's a specialty. And that's not bad. I mean, to be able to turn into a 5/4 with menace, and it only costs 2 to crew, and it only costs 2 to get. You know, this is a pretty good card, all things considered. Next one is Network Terminal. This is a 3 colorless artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, or 1 in a tap. Tap another untapped artifact you control, draw a card, then discard a card. So you can pay 1, tap it, and another artifact, and you can rummage, or you can just tap it to add 1 mana of any color. I think I'm going to use this as a mana dork more than anything, but at 3 CMC for a single mana, this is not good. I mean, there's so many artifacts that do better that this is going to see very fringe played, or it's a budget option for people getting into Commander that need more mana artifacts or mana rocks, but don't have the money. This is not a terrible option, but there is other probably better options out there. So let's just move on. Ninja's Kunai. I butchered that. It's a single mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature has 1 in a tap, sacrifice Ninja Kunai. Ninja Kunai deals 3 damage to any target. You can equip it for 1. This is a good little burn equipment. So this is hard because you pay 1 to get it on the field. You pay 1 to equip it. And then you pay 1 to deal 3 damage to any target. So it's 3 mana to do 3 damage, essentially. Because equipped creature, it can't do it itself. You can't just pay 1 and tap and sacrifice this. You have to equip it first, then pay 1 and tap the thing to be able to do it. So, meh. Let's move on to the next card. Papercraft Decoy. This is a 2 mana artifact creature frog. It's a 2/1. When Papercraft Decoy leaves the battlefield, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. I mean, this is an okay artifact creature. I really like the art. This could go in Frog Tribal, just because it's a little origami frog. It's really cute. 2/1s are pretty much worthless, but you pay 2 and draw a card. We've seen better costs already in this video. Let's just move on. Planar Incision. Hoof. 1 in a blue for an instant. Exile target artifact or creature. Then return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. So, you can exile your own creature or vehicle, artifact, craziness, whatever you got, and put a 1/1 counter on it. Or you can exile one that someone's taking control of, and then it comes back to you and it gets a 1/1 counter on it. I mean, this has got its own shenanigans, but it's just okay at best. Let's just move on. Reckoner's Bargain. 1 of 2 cards with Reckoner on it. 1 in a black for an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed permanent's mana value and draw 2 cards. So this is not a terrible thing because it's an instant. So someone targets your creature for removal. Maybe your biggest, baddest guy, right? Now, you're just like, I'm going to play this out now. For 2, I'm going to sacrifice that big bad because it's going to die anyway. I don't have a counter spell, but I can sacrifice it myself, gain that life, and draw 2 cards off of it. Thank you very much. And your removal spell fizzles. Ooh, spicy. You know, at common, this is good. Next is Reckoner's Shakedown, alright? This is 2 and a black for a sorcery, so it's not nearly as good at first. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player discards that card. If you don't, put 2 1/1 counters on creature or vehicle you control. This is just bad, if you ask me. Being able to look at your opponent's hand is one to feel bad. If you do this in person, people are not going to be happy. Generally speaking, I do not like it when someone looks at my hand. And it's not because I actually care. It's just kind of a personal thing. It feels like an attack almost. You know, it's way worse than actually getting attacked. It's like getting poison counters. No one likes poison counters. Anyway, then if you don't find anything good to exile, you can put 2 1/1 counters on creature and vehicles you control. So basically, you get to look at their hand, know what they're going to play, and then put 2 1/1 counters on a creature or vehicle. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. But at sorcery speed, and it costs 3 mana, that's really where you lose me. Not worth it. Next card. Alright, Regent Authority. This is a single white pit for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's an enchantment creature or legendary creature, instead put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So, I like that it puts emphasis on the enchantment creatures and legendary creatures. Because they kind of needed to make sure that this was going to be a cemented thing. And being able to put a cheap instant in that gives a permanent 1/1 counter and an extra 1/1 until end of turn instead of just a 2/2 until end of turn is really cool. I mean, it's utilitarian in the sense that it doesn't have to be enchantment creature or legendary creature, but it's still cool. I mean, it just reinforces the play legendaries more often. Play the enchantment creatures that we are giving you a ton of. You know, so I like this. It's not the greatest, not the worst. I mean, getting up the +1/+1 counter to stick though is actually pretty neat. Next one is Repel the Vial. This is a 3 and a white for an instant. Choose 1, exile target creature with power 4 or greater, or exile target enchantment. This is a functional reprint of a card that I cannot remember off the top of my head. I mean, but white always gets to either pay a whole bunch and exile a big one, or pay a little and exile a little one that's tapped, or it's always so situational. Like, why can't white just get a 3 mana exile target creature? You know, just straight up, no frills, no BS, just exile target creature. Maybe even 4 mana exile target creature. Then it would be worth it. But let's keep moving. Alright, return to action, 1 and a black instant. Until end of turn, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains lifelink. And when this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. This is just a cool card that's an instant, so you know, you swing in with the creature, it's gonna die, you might as well put a 1/1 on it and maybe try to kill the opponent's creature. You get some life out of it, and it comes back tapped under your control, so it's a win-win, you know? You might be able to remove theirs, you might not. You gain some life out of it. This guarantees you get at least 1 extra life out of it, and you get it back. So, I like this card, especially since it goes back to the battlefield, not back to your hand. There's the red-green tapped. I'm going to call them tapped lands, because they're not tap lands, they're tapped lands. You gain 1 life. Or, like, life tappers. I don't know. We'll find a good name for them. White and a black. I'm sure like MTG Goldfish has already made one up or something. Scrapyard Steelbreaker. This is 3 and a red for an artifact creature, human warrior. Alright, this is a 3/4 1. Sacrifice another artifact. Scrapyard Steelbreaker gets +2/+1 until end of turn. So, if you pay 1 and you sacrifice another artifact, you can turn this into a 5/5. It doesn't say once per turn. So technically speaking, you could pay 3, sacrifice 3 other artifacts, and turn this into a 9/7, basically. That's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, if you have a way to generate a lot of food tokens or blood tokens or treasure tokens, this ain't bad. This ain't bad at all. So that's something to think about. Let's move on to the next one. Oh man, it just keeps on coming. Searchlight Companion. This is a 3 colorless artifact creature drone. It's a 1/1 with flying. When Searchlight Companion enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Yep, it's a 1/1 with flying. That costs 3. That is outrageous. When it enters the battlefield, it creates a 1/1 spirit. No, you're going to have to blink the crap out of this to make it worth it. I mean, 2/2 for 3, and only one of them's got flying. The colorless spirit is just a colorless dummy. You're going to be using this to pilot stuff because that's the only thing it's good for. I mean, I guess you can technically get over stuff with flying, but as soon as they put something out with flying or reach, this thing is worthless. Utterly worthless, and it costs so much. I don't want to play a 1/1 with flying on turn 3 for all of my mana. Next card. Season of Renewal. This is a 2 and a green for an instant. Choose one or both. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can, you will always choose both, because drawing 2 cards for 3 is better than drawing, or returning 2 cards for 3 is better than returning 1 card. Gosh. Drawing, returning graveyards. Yes. If you can do both, this is worth it. If you can't do both, that enchantment or that creature better damn well be worth it. Let's move on. Short Circuit. This is a 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura with flash. That's cool. Enchant artifact a creature. As long as an enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets -3/-0 and loses flying. So this is cool because if they've got a flyer and you don't have any flyers at all, they go to swing with that flyer. You've got something that could kill that flyer, because generally speaking, flyers have higher strengths and lower toughnesses. You can then flash this in after they've declared attackers, give it -3/-3, or -3/-0, loses flying, block it with your strong creature, and it doesn't need to have high toughness because it's got -3/-3. Chances are, if yours can kill it, it's got enough toughness to be able to survive something that lost 3 strength. And you just kill off their flyer. This is a good card. You don't even need it to be an enchantment. You just need it to be till end of turn, really, generally speaking. So let's move on to the next card. Shrine Steward. This is 5 mana artifact creature construct. It's a 3/2. When Shrine Steward enters a battlefield, you may search your library for an aura or shrine card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. This is good. Shrine decks are going to use this. They're going to use this religiously, because being able to hunt out a shrine card and put it into your hand and play it out is super duper good. Super duper 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 good. You know? So the aura part is the shrines is where it's at. Because the shrines do so much in this set. I mean, all the shrines that I've seen so far have been really good. It's going to be a Wooburg set, so let's move on to the next card. Sky Swimmer Coy. Alright, this is a gigundous koi that flies through the sky. 3 and a blue for a creature fish. Has flying. It's a 3/3. When an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So, that's not bad. If you have a card that you're willing to discard, drawing a card is always good. If you don't have a card in your hand that you're willing to discard, probably wouldn't draw that card, because chances are you're going to draw that card and you're going to look at it, you're going to have 4 really good cards and none that you want to throw back. You're like, crap. So, but again, that doesn't matter. This is not 4 mana for a 3/3 with flying is good. Being able to draw and then discard is really good. So let's just keep on moving. Spring Leaf Avenger. This is 3 and a green for a creature insect ninja. It is a 6/5 for 5. That's not bad, but you can ninjutsu this for 4. When Spring Leaf Avenger deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. This is another return target permanent. There's so many things that say graveyard, bring it back, bring it back. This is another one for 4 mana to ninjutsu and get in for 6, which in standard and in limited is a lot of damage. That's more than a quarter of their life total right off the top, taken right off the top. So yeah, be careful letting stuff get through unopposed or unblocked in the new standard. Next is Suit Up. 2 and a blue for an instant. Until the end of turn, target creature or vehicle becomes an artifact creature with a base power and toughness of 4 or 5, and you draw a card. This is really good. 3 mana draw a card is not the greatest, but being able to turn vehicle into an artifact creature, so you have a small vehicle that was really cheap, turn to a 4/5, swing with it without having to pilot it, and you get to draw a card. Yep, this is a really good card. It's going to see a lot of limited and standard and maybe even commander play if the vehicle's commander comes together. Alright, here's the Life Tapper. Tamio Safekeeping. This is a single green instant. Target permanent you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain 2 life. I like that. I like that a lot. It's an instant for green. Only costs 1. And the creature becomes unremovable till the end of turn. Plus you gain 2 life. That's really good. Hexproof and indestructible means it's unremovable. Plain and simple. You can't target it with a spell or anything, and you can't destroy it, so it's basically unremovable. Next card. Alright, here's the green-blue one for the Life Tapper. Next card. Thundersteel Colossus. I want to know what you guys think about this. This is a 7 mana 7/7. And no way to bring the cost down on it, but it has trample and haste, and it only takes 2 to crew it. So this could be really cool. This is a pull stuff from the graveyard to the battlefield card 110%. This is the card that you want to discard into your graveyard and then find a way to pull it from your graveyard back to the battlefield without casting its cost. So this is the card that you want the that little rat pilot for, you know. So let's keep on going. Next one is Tawaski Song Shaper. All right, this is 1 and a red for an artifact creature, human Artificer. When another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, Tawashi Song Shaper, wow, 1 gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It's a 2/2. So you could really get this thing quite large if you had a way to get those artifacts early enough so like if you could get blood tokens generated early before combat, this could be really strong. Without being able to generate those treasure tokens and those artifacts before combat, getting +1/+0 until end of turn is kind of pointless. A lot of the things create those tokens or those artifacts during combat, so it's not the worst card. It's kind of cool. I really love the art with the giant mechanical hands spinning it almost look like saw blades as a turntable. But let's keep on moving. Here's the white-blue land, the Life Tapper. Twisted Embrace. This is wild looking. 2 and a black enchantment aura. Enchant artifact or creature you control. When Twisted Embrace enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+0. 4 mana to destroy a creature or planeswalker is good, especially when you get to put a +1/+1 on your creature as well. That's just icing on the cake. Again, this is a card that is going to be limited play to hell and back because it's removal. It's 4 mana removal. Plain and simple. It's pretty good. Alrighty, Uncharted Heaven. This is a basic or a common land. Uncharted enters the battlefield tapped. Uncharted Haven enters the battlefield. Choose a color. You can tap it to add 1 mana of that chosen color. We've seen a whole bunch of lands like this. This is probably for their commander set. In all honesty, they just made it part of the main set because we see this stuff all the time. This is kind of a mana fixer. It's almost like a Evolving Wilds, but not, because you're not searching out the library and shuffling. So it's okay. Let's keep on moving. Undying City Scrounger, or Undercity Scrounger, sorry. 2 and a black for an artifact creature, human rogue. It's a 1/4. You can tap it to create a treasure token. Activate only if a creature died this turn. Okay. This is for the sacrifice aristocrats decks, the tokens decks that are going to be swinging with a lot to be able to get extra mana. But you can only tap it to create a single treasure token, unless you have a way to untap it and then tap it again for a treasure token and create infinite mana that way. Again, it's still only creating a single treasure token, so it's not like you can really... There's certain cards out there that double the effects of a activated ability. So, nah. Virus Beetle. This is really cool. 1 and a black artifact creature insect. It's a 1/1. When Virus Beetle enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. The text and stuff, that doesn't matter. I just really like the art of this. I like it's in there like breaking into their form of computers. You know, it's just this tiny little beetle that goes in there and just wreaks havoc. Being able, each opponent discards a card. That's okay, but it helps your artifact count, and it helps get that card advantage a little bit. So it's not the worst card. Let's move on. Voltage Surge. It's a single red for an instant. Alrighty. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice an artifact. Voltage Surge deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell's additional cast was paid, Voltage Surge deals 4 damage instead. A single mana to deal 4 damage to a creature or planeswalker is really good. I mean, yes, you have to sacrifice an artifact. Sacrificing artifacts is just going to become part of life. So, you sacrifice something, and you deal 4 damage. That is so good. So good. For a single mana, I like it a lot. Let's move on. Wanderer's Intervention. 1 and a white with an instant. Wanderer's Intervention deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. See, this is how unfair it is for white versus red. Alright, mono white did not get as much love as mono red did, because obviously mono white is a little overpowered at the moment. But I mean, this one costs 2 mana to do the same thing, but it has the restrictions of it has to be attacking or blocking. That's just poppycock. And maybe that's just because I like my Selesnya decks, but come on, make it a little bit easier for white. They need a commander deck, for Christ's sakes. Next we got the red and white Life Tapper, and holy cow, that is it. All right, guys, so we made it just over an hour. I tried to keep it as fast as possible. Sorry, I do not have a closing page for this one because there was 80 something cards and I would have had to do like 3 or 4 more pages. So instead, if you want to see all these cards, you can check them out on mtgpreview.com. That is MTG Goldfish's website. I know it's another YouTuber's website. I shouldn't be, but they're good. They're good people. And they have really good stuff. That they got all of the things on there. So if you want to check out all these new cards that came out, they're on there. Or you can just scroll back into the video. I don't have them split up by card, but that's okay. I'm sure you guys are smart enough to find it out. Or you can just watch it again. That would help me a lot, because that would get that sweet view time up. And don't forget to like and subscribe right down below, or right over there. That's the click on the APOC. That'll get you to subscribe. Or you can check out the videos that should be one popping over my head right here, and one above me, and one over there. Man, I'll get this right sooner or later. Alrighty, guys. As always, take care, be safe, and God bless.